Warning: the following contains explicit language and subject matter that may not be suitable for younger listeners, church folk, and people who enjoy kale smoothies.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to A Pod Amongst Men. I'm your host, Steve B., as always, and these are coffee break conversations for the 21st century. Here we are, episode 103, guys. My guest today, an old friend of mine, Chris Salvatierra. He is a Jersey guy, even though I think he might balk at being referred to as a Jersey guy, even though he's technically from New York, but I like to think of him as a Jersey guy because he was a very big part of the music scene around where I came up. You know, he's an MC. He's the front man of a band of an old formerly of the band SMALL TOWN SCOUNDRELS, now currently of the group He Said She Said. And Chris was kind enough to take some time out and come talk to us about his life coming up in music, finding yourself as an artist and being part of a scene, in a city or a town or even a state like New Jersey, and what that scene is like, and that community of artists and musicians, and what it means to those involved. So I'm not going to ramble anymore. I'm just going to let you guys listen to the interview. This is my conversation with Chris Salvatierra. So you're at an art studio or an art gallery? Let me get this.
It is an art gallery / studio. So
Okay.
I don't know if you can see behind me. There's like a mic stand. They do like performances here. They do poetry readings here, and they show different art things here. And like there's a whole like gallery of stuff around here, which is cool.
It's a nice looking space.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. Actually, I think they opened up officially this past summer, September. And the owner and creator of it is Caroline Davidson, right? Did I say that right? Davidson. It's her.
What's up, Caroline?
So yeah, I didn't want to do it in my living room. So I was like, if I do it in my living room, it's gonna look cheesy. I didn't want it to be cheesy. So I was like, let me reach out and whatnot. And I was like, oh well, this is actually right down the street from my house. So
okay,
worked out perfectly.
Well, luckily with Zoom, they have like the digital background, so you could have like
you can't do that shit. Fuck that, I can't.
My friend Bobby does his. He does his, so it looks like the Matrix code behind him.
Yeah, I'm not that far advanced in technology there, but
no, they make it easy. It's right on Zoom. But I mean, honestly, if I had a gallery, also I would use that too. So I think you made a good call.
Yeah, I was like, I think aesthetically you would look great.
Yeah, you look very professional. I got to give it to you.
I tried. Thanks. I didn't know how I wanted to be like, hey, I haven't been talking to y'all in a long time, so let me put on the button down.
Well, I mean, it has been a while. I mean,
yeah.
This is
I don't remember the last time.
Well, this is going back almost to like the Fridays days. You know what I mean?
Oh, the Fridays days.
But I don't think it was that long, because I remember one of the last times like I have like a very distinct memory of us hanging out was we went to New Hope. We were in Havana, and you got into some dance battle with some chick.
I always get into dance battles, dog. I love dance battles.
Oh, I know. It sticks out in my memory.
I love dance. Was that the night? Shit, I'm trying to think.
There was only like three or four of us that went that night.
I just don't remember who the group was.
I'm pretty sure it was you and me. I think it was Drew, and we were there. Some female was with us.
Was Gavin there?
Nah, I never hung out with him. Either way,
I don't remember. It has to be all right. So if even on that tip, it was probably no more or no less than 8 years ago.
Oh, easily. I think it's got to be over a decade by this point.
I was gonna say a decade, but
it's got
from my memory of like New Hope and everything like that, yeah.
It's been a long time since I was there too.
Yeah.
So,
which have you seen, by the way, lately? A lot of celebrities go there now. What? Like Lady Gaga's been there. What's that? Lupa.
Dua Lipa.
Yeah, Dua Lipa. What's her? Taylor Swift was like goes there all the time. Like they go there all the time.
They just like shoot the shit and they hang out.
Yeah,
like, oh, maybe
out, like, oh.
Maybe I'll buy some crystals and I'll go buy a wooden
Get a new
carving of
bong,
Buddha.
you know?
Oh, look, here's a knife shop. It's perfect. This is the perfect Pennsylvania
I
town.
just didn't understand it. I'm like, when did that become like the cool place to go to, where it was like you went there to chill out and like eat like Spatalo's pizza, go to Havana's, late night for a drink. Like, wasn't a cool place to go.
It's a cool, like, artsy town, very like progressive, and they have all kinds of like cool stuff. They have restaurants, they have like little head shops and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, around that area, what else is there? Like, there's nothing like that over there.
No.
You have to go all the way to Philly to get something else like that.
Yeah, you get Trenton. Trenton's not that far.
You could put Trenton up there with New Hope?
Trenton's changing. I have hopes. I have high hopes for Trenton. I do.
All right. So, I mean, we're already shooting the shit here. So before we get too far out ahead of our skis, Oz, do you want to give a little bit of an intro about yourself? Kind of tell the audience who you are, like what you're about, what you're into. I'm going to get into that once we keep getting into the meat of this thing.
Yeah, no, my name is Chris Oz. From Jersey. I was in a band called the Small Town Scoundrels for, I don't know, well over a decade. Indie hip hop. Like, I love hip hop. I love punk rock. I love reggae. I loved it all. But it was the beauty about Jersey is that it breeds different artists right next to each other. So you could have best friends in the same group on the same show, being a punk rock show, being a little bit mixed with hip hop, and like often you have like a reggae act and all in the same bill. So like the infusion of that kind of fell onto me. Like it became a part of me, so in that aspect, it became part of the band. And so, being in the Scoundrels for over 10 years, and I mean, obviously started completely small in the basement, working for over like a year and a half, just trying to get the niche of everything, to playing our first show. What was that? It was.
Oh boy, don't answer that yet. Don't get into that. Let's go further back before the Scoundrels. Like, where'd you grow up? Where are you from? Tell them.
From New York.
Little Oz,
Little Oz. From New York.
What part?
Washington Heights.
Okay.
And then it's like Uptown 176.
Mm-hmm.
And then at a young age, my mom married my stepfather, moved me out to Jersey, but it was always like a back and forth. So even though I was young in Jersey, I was, still going back to New York to see my friends and my brother, who lived out there. So it was just this, as much as I was in Jersey, I was never too far away from New York at any point in time.
There's a lot of kids like that kind of did that, like that dual location, growing up.
Because you didn't have a dad. It's cool,
Well, I mean, even if you did, maybe you come from like a divorced family, like you spend
that's what I mean. That's
like
what I meant.
PA. Yeah.
Exactly.
I know what you mean, but
He was there.
Yeah, I got you. So now I grew up. I knew your cousin Jason. We went to school together.
Blanco.
Yeah. That was how me and you met.
Yes. So, actually, I just talked to him like the other day because he's out in California now. Him and Marlon moved in together.
Oh, Marlon went there too?
Yeah, now their little brother Chris. So all three of the brothers are going to be living together.
Oh, damn.
Out in Cali. So I was like, that's weird.
Are they in like LA County?
I want to say so, but I'm not 100% sure. I know they're in LA somewhere. I just don't know where. Okay.
That's a rough place that's a weird place to be right now.
Currently, yeah. With COVID and everything like that.
A lot of people trying to get out too.
Yeah, but I don't know. Where is it safe to go? It's just like kind of like being in New Jersey. Like I live in Asbury Park, and because of COVID, all the New Yorkers were flooding back here. So we would have people who summer here, every year, but then they just didn't leave. So it was like, wanted the money's great to have, but just like I want my town back. Like I want my beach back. Like local summer, and it's like.
Well, that's the thing with like a big city like LA or New York. A lot of people are kind of realizing now, so many people are forced to work from home and do what we're doing right now, just do like Zoom. Like, why do I need to pay this astronomical rent to stay in the city when I could do this, from a suburb?
Yeah, for what they pay rent in the city, like some of those people, like the houses
insane.
they could buy out here, come on, it only makes sense.
You move out to like fucking Phillipsburg or something, you have the same job and you're paying a fraction. But who wants to live in Philly?
But you also don't have, the beach down the street.
Yeah.
So it's like
you're not in the biggest city of the world,
Exactly.
So how long ago did you move to Asbury?
I came to Asbury, I want to say like 5 years ago now.
Okay. Because Asbury is one of my favorite towns in New Jersey, just because
Who doesn't love Asbury?
But it's like the journey of that town. If you consider what it was like when we were little.
No, and I tell people that all the time who they're like, I love Asbury. Like, I want to come to Asbury all the time. And I'm like, You don't remember that place like 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, do you remember it? Like, we used to do shows out there. And they're like, don't stop at a red light. Just go straight to the Pony, or go straight to the Saint. Like, don't stop anywhere. Just go straight to to the venue. Yeah. Because the downtown was desolate. Like, I forget the one time we were down here, we were playing a show, and like I heard mosque music playing, and I was like, where's there a mosque in Asbury? But downtown was empty. So I was just like, what's going on? Like, it was just a completely different vibe than what you see today, where now you got shops and restaurants and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful. It's awesome. But it's just, the way it has changed in the past, 10 to 15 years is.
Well, there's a lot of places like that in Jersey. I mean, Asbury is most notably one of my favorite. And for anybody listening, obviously this, I know this. But anybody, Asbury Park is the town where Bruce Springsteen kind of came up. A lot of his songs are about Asbury Park.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into it. He's not my, that's not my business.
He's not my favorite. I'm just saying, like, the guy wrote songs about people getting like knifed and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
it used to be a rough town.
I don't know if he's from Asbury. I don't think he's from Asbury. I think he played here a lot.
Well, that's
the Pony.
The Pony. He made the Pony famous.
And all that stuff. But as far as him being from here,
he's not actually from Asbury,
right? Like, I think he's Red Bank or something. But don't get me. I mean, I met him like twice. Nice guy, but Yeah.
And the Stone Pony was his stomping grounds. It's an awesome venue, by the way. For if you're a New Jersey artist, Stone Pony,
if you didn't play the Pony. I mean, if you did get to play the Pony, it's
a rite of passage.
Blessing. It's like whether you were in the inside or the summer stage, it's just a vibe, because it's just such a beautiful venue, and like you said, it's a rite of passage. Like,
yep.
If you can fill up the Pony and you play that, those stages, a part of you kind of goes, hey, the Fugees were here. Hey, like, this person was here. Hey, Bruce was here. Gaslight was here. The Bouncing Souls, like, and it's like, it's crazy to think that you're stepping and you get to do that, and that's kind of actually the saddest thing I think currently with COVID in this town, is that we are a music town. This is a music town. Like, it didn't matter, fall, spring, summer, winter, it didn't matter. There was always bands playing somewhere, whether it was like down the boardwalk, one of the venues, you always heard music, and now you don't hear it. It doesn't exist, and it's like the heart of this town is missing, because like this is a huge like thing about us, is the music, the arts, everything. And I think that's killing a lot of people, who actually live here too. Like, it's just, you just miss hearing, especially in the summertime. Like, usually if you walk into the boardwalk, Passing Land Ghost, Pop's Garage or whatever, and hearing bands play like every weekend at night, and it's just this vibe that it created. And this summer alone, just to see that and it be empty and not have that same feeling, it hurt. It definitely hurts.
Yeah, well, it's rough now, especially like this time of year, the winter, because a shore town always kind of has that ghost town vibe in the winter anyway. And then to top it off,
but you know what? It's crazy. It's crazy that you say that, but that's what I'm saying. With Asbury in the past 5 years, 6 years, like, you can go. There's shows everywhere, so it doesn't matter how cold it is. There's always shows being booked. I mean, you have, like I said, you got if you think about it, you have the Saint, you have the Wonder Bar, you have the Pony, you have House of Independence, you have the Paramount Theater.
Was there a place called like Fast Lane or something like that?
The Asbury Lanes. You have the Asbury Lanes. I mean, the old and new one. Whatever. Like, they got a remodel. But no matter where, then you had the Asbury Hotel, and now you got Ghost Harbor. Like, you have places where music was everywhere. It's just didn't matter what time of the year it was, and so it's like, to not feel that vibe, it's just weird. Even in the wintertime, when people are like, oh, it's like winter, who goes to the beach in the winter? Like, we live here year long.
There's still a lot of stuff to do down there.
There's still much to do here, Like, there's a culture down here. There's a town. Like, and that's what I love about Asbury the most, is it's homey. It's a vibe. It's a family. Like, your bartenders at Bond Street and Asbury Park Distilling. Like the beer garden, a little plug in right there. Everyone, and everyone gets to know each other. So it's like, Monday nights, where most of us are off, we're going to start at Bond Street, get some drinks there, and then, drunkenly end up at Johnny Mac's, like, down the street, whatever, get free pizza. Like, it's so family vibe that even if you were to walk out on your tab, they know most time you're coming back. You're gonna pay that tab. So
next
it's
time
like
you come in, oh, what's
no
the big idea?
no one's gonna forget it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. And kind of like when you and I were younger, when we used to go to Fridays, and if we left Fridays, it's like, you want the mozzarella sticks, you gotta pay what you had last time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's within that realm. But like I said, it's just weird this time around. Like, you know, with COVID, and I hope that come June, a little normality comes back into this place.
Hey, I'm fingers crossed, bro.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, I call this place home more now than anything else. You know, like I love where we're from as far as like, you know, Somerset County, you know, and I love New York and all my family out in Miami, but this has become my home. You know, it definitely feels more me than anything else has ever like felt before. So
well, it's the town itself has so much character. It's impossible for it not to, you know, make an imprint on you. You know.
I agree.
Especially if you actually live there day in, day out. Like,
yeah, it was weird coming out here at first. I didn't know anybody, so it was, you know, I was trying to like get my niche and stuff like that, and luckily enough, because you get like, you know, musicians and, you know, artists always have a natural like vibe with one another, that it was super easy just to become friends, because everyone here basically is like the same. You know, you're probably working in a restaurant, playing in a band, you know, like, you know, or like something of that nature. Like it's everyone's here, like doing the same damn thing.
All right, so we went on a little tangent there.
Oh yeah.
I like tangents though. So now you're, you know, going back and forth between New York, New Jersey. Obviously, like you said, you were the front man for Small Town Scoundrels, and you know, a lot of people. I don't know about you. I got into music kind of late. Like I always loved music. It was always part of my life.
You played bass, right?
I played bass, correct.
Bass, yep.
And like I never picked up a bass till I was like 20 years old. I think it was 21, yeah, around there, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But Drew sold me my first bass for $30.
Hey, as long as you picked it up.
What about you? Like, did you ever like? Was there a point in time when you're like, hey, you know, did you realize that you had like musical talent? Was there like an aha moment? You know?
This is gonna sound corny. And
go ahead.
I was wondering if you were gonna ask me this question, because I was like, if I get asked this question, I'm going to sound corny. And
but it's disclaimer.
These are just the facts. Like, I remember. So you know, you take it back to, you know, back to the early 90s, late 80s, you know, me and my brother being in New York City, like in the summer, you know, writing rhymes. And, you know, I forget what his rap name was. I think mine was like MC Superfly or some corny shit like that. And, you know, we just like writing these rhyme books, and they were the corniest raps you could ever, you know, come up with whatsoever. But it was definitely in 1993 where I was in New York, and my brother had what was it called? Public access TV on. Okay. And Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, you know, Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to Fuck With came on. I was jumping on my aunt and uncle's bed.
Public access?
On public access, yeah. And I remember it like clear as day, and I just remember my like head exploded. I don't know if you ever watched like Big Mouth when like the kids like find out something new, and like that's what it was. Like my head just exploded, and I didn't know what I was listening to, and it was something different, and there was something about like this collective. Because I mean, it wasn't like I never knew hip hop prior to that. Like I loved hip hop, you know, because you know you had, you know, Rakim the God, you know, you had Slick, you know, all these guys who were just prior to that. But it was something about that point in time of hip hop that hearing that song and hearing the way they did what they did, it just something clicked in me. And then writing became a thing. Like it became something to strive towards. And then corny enough, like do you remember like when we were like in Dare, when we were like kids, and like you had like a Dare graduation? Like I wrote our Dare graduation. Yeah, like when you were like,
I don't think I graduated. I think I got left back.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, but still, you know, hopefully your kids don't watch this one day.
I'm sure they will.
No, right. But I wrote like the Dare like rap song, you know, and I made all of the kids at my grade sing my rap that I wrote, you know, and it's like to look back at that now, I'm like, yeah, it's like, don't smoke that weed, don't chew that tobacco, your mind will go really, really wacko. I don't know why I remember that. It's just like, that's like some corny shit. And no, and after that, it just became, oh, this is cool, I could do this. And then, you know, then I would do like a talent show for like middle school or whatever. And then it became a part of me. And then I became part of a small collective group when I was younger called AFO. And we would do like rap shows, like, you know, there's like 3 or 4 of us at the time, like on the stage, all over, like Jersey, New York, whatever. And we were performing as little kids. And the one guy, I remember when we were younger, tried to get us to like, manage us and like put us like kind of make us like what's that group? Like a crisscross, but like 4 of us.
Oh,
so
shit.
It was like a mix between crisscross and like, boy bandish at the time. And I just
Did you have like a gimmick? Like,
yeah,
wear your clothes backwards or
different.
something?
No, we were all of our clothes were like baggy and whatever.
You gotta
like,
have some kind of gimmick, bro.
Does
everybody wear mittens
jeans,
or something?
Everyone had the Tommy Hilfiger oversized, like, button down shirt, like the polos, whatever.
Yep.
And it was just like, it became a way to like, to like kind of just stand out because it's weird, like to kind of backtrack a little bit. It was weird trying to be a kid from New York fitting into a town like Hillsborough, kind of especially being an outsider and, not to call it like a race thing, but being a person of color,
it's a huge change between
it's a different
Hillsborough
especially
and the city.
School,
yeah.
Like you get treated differently. Like you have the things that you deal with. Like I've dealt with plenty of racial things growing up, and it was, I look back at it now, like, yeah, it's fucked up. Like it was really messed up. And, but as a kid, you kind of had to like push it away in a sense. And for me to fight it back was being part of like a hip hop group, being a rapper, because I'd rather people be afraid of me thinking I was hood, and thug and then to get picked on because they knew not to, at that point. So it's kind of messed up, but that's just kind of how it led on. And then I think once I got into high school, it was just this thing that I knew I was great at, but I didn't know where to take it. So I would write rhymes and write singles and write with all these friends and do these shows, but a part of me just didn't know where I fit in because I was in love with this thing called music. Because it wasn't just hip hop. Just because I came from New York, it wasn't just hip hop, because I remember being 1996 when Dude Ranch came out and I was sitting in study hall and the kid sitting next to me, like looks at my CD player and sees Dude Ranch playing on my CD player. He's like, what do you listen to Blink-182 for? I'm like, I love Blink-182. You know what I'm saying? Because like it was great. It was a great album.
All right, hold up. I gotta ask you this. Now this is something I used to think about when I was young. Even now, like if you could have like entrance music, Oz's theme song, what do you think it would be? Like what kind of song defines you?
Like if I was gonna walk into a room every time the song, that one song would always play.
All right, let's set.
Is that what you're asking?
Let's set the scene. All right, picture this with me. All right, I'm gonna take you on a journey here. All right. You're at a wedding, or it's a wedding, okay? Friend's wedding. You're going there solo. So let's just say for argument's sake,
okay.
Yeah, you're a stag. You're a single man. You're walking in there. You're all decked out. Whatever you can imagine. Your sharpest clothes. What song comes on just as you're walking in, as you're making your entrance? It's cinematic. It's like a movie.
Man, that's hard, man.
Right?
That's hard.
Now, before you answer, this is something I thought about. The harder that question is for you, it's because you have like a very broad taste in music.
I mean, I can tell you like off the beam, like if I was going to like, because you're setting the scene, like the scene, and you're setting the tone. I would walk into Suit and Tie by Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z. I would walk into that because that's you're going into a wedding as a scene. Yeah. But if I was going to walk into any room at all times to make my dramatic intro, I don't know what that song would be. Like, would I naturally say something Wu-Tang? Yeah, because I love Wu-Tang. Everyone knows I love Wu-Tang, but that's not the only music I grew up loving. Like I remember like going back to that whole thing with JP, like going to go see a basement show in New Brunswick, watching Thursday, Midtown, Saves the Day,
those basement shows right off like what street? What was that? Not Easton Ave. It was the side Hamilton. On Hamilton, there was all those different like apartments and stuff like that, like the small buildings.
Yeah, the small. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, no one, if you weren't from that time, you're never going to really appreciate what it was.
Yeah.
To be able to say, for $2, I saw Thursday. For $5, I saw this, and it's like we grew up with all of these different bands that we were so, they were so easy to get to go see. And for me, it wasn't necessarily just the music, but it was the vibe. It was like watching the shows and, because you go to a hip hop show, no one's like moshing really, at all at the time. Like you kind of just stand there, throw your hands up, you're bobbing your head. But when you're at like a punk rock show, and it's like, or like a pop punk show, like, you know, people running in circles, dancing, like, you know, ska, whatever they're doing, and then like
it's a whole scene.
It's different, you know, like, and that's what people didn't understand. That's what my mind just was like, I can't not love all of it, because there's parts of it that I love from every aspect. But obviously, the original thing that made me creative was, you know, hip hop. But I mean, you just think about when you're like a kid too. Like my dad played, you know, Temptations and Eric Clapton. And
this is what I was going to ask you next. Did your parents' music influence you at all?
Yeah, but I mean, more now than, you know, even when I was in the band with the Scoundrels, more now than that, because I always grew up, like, to me, it's cleaning music. I don't know if that makes sense for anybody. For like on Sundays in my family's like house, like, when music is playing on Sunday, you're cleaning the house, and if you're not cleaning, you're getting your ass whooped. So it's like, you know, so like I remember, like, you know, like listening to the Temptations and Eric Clapton and, you know, Santana, where, you know, because that's what my father loved. He loved that type of shit. And then, like, you know, my mom would play like disco and, you know, salsa and merengue, you know, obviously because I'm, you know, Latino. And my stepfather, you know, he's white, but it was cool to have that dynamic in my life, because it made it different. You had to listen to different things. And because of that, I think some people in my family are not as eclectic in their, you know, music listening to, because they didn't have that growing up. So I understand that.
Well, that's what my house is. I'm a white guy. My wife is Cuban, and it's very different cultures, you know. And my stepson, he's like, I see he's like gleaning some stuff from me, but I'm like, all right, you got the Michael Jackson, but like, there's a lot more stuff out there. Like, we don't have to listen to Billie Jean on repeat every time we get in the car.
I mean, what's that like? I mean, because I mean, I know what it was like for me growing up, but what is it for you? You know, being married to a Cubana. Is she Republican?
I mean, she's kind of like she's independent, but I can see there's like flavors of, you know, Republican stuff. I mean, listen, I've talked about this before. Like, you know, Cuban people are so, I mean, legitimately traumatized from what happened in the island of Cuba. And nobody should be surprised that they lean right. It's the least surprising thing in the world.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, you go to Miami. I want to say 90% of the Cubans in Miami are Republican. You know, I'm sure they voted for Trumpito, but, you know, I don't blame them. But
it's what it is. It's just what it is. You know. No, like for me growing up, like I feel like what's going on with my stepson, he's a very similar situation. You know, his mom and dad got a stepdad, and I'm trying to be there for him and really, you know, be involved in his life and be, you know, because his dad lives in Florida. It's a long way. You can't see him all the time.
Of course, his dad lives in Florida.
Well, but you know, that's where they're from. My wife, you know, when we met, you know, she lived in Miami, so we were doing long distance for like 2 years. So when we got married, she moved up here.
How'd you guys meet?
Long story, but we were at
long story boring. Long story boring. Go.
Well, I forgive me for anybody, you know, anybody listening who's heard this before, but
all your friends that know the story.
Yeah, we were in New Orleans for George's bachelor party, and she was there that same weekend for her best friend's bachelorette party, and we ended up meeting, and we stayed in touch, and then we started dating, doing long distance, and here we are 5 years later.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Everybody said you're never going to get her to move up here from Miami. Who the fuck goes to Jersey for Miami? Well, lo and behold,
smart people. I applaud her.
Listen.
Shit in Florida.
Listen, your boys still got it. Okay.
Boys, you've always had it, man. Come on, stop it.
Came at it with that hard body karate. You know what I'm saying?
That bald head of yours with the beard always worked. Always worked. It was impossible for it not to work.
I'm sorry for talking shit, baby, if you hear this. But no, like growing up, I know like my dad's music really influenced me because he was so involved in music. And like my relationship with my dad is, you know, not great, but there's certain things, you know, you always take something from people. You always absorb things. And my dad used to pick us up on the weekends, and he would listen to 106.1 WJJZ, Smooth Jazz. Listen to like Kenny G and like Lee Ritenour. He would play like George Benson all the time. And
I love Kenny G. I don't care what
like David Sanborn and all these smooth jazz artists. Like, and it's nice music. It's good. It's if you're a musician, it's beautiful music, but it's not what you hear, and it's not what you would expect a kid to listen to.
For sure.
So then, like my dad listening to that stuff, and my mom always listened to like soul and Motown and stuff like that. And then I'm like, it's no surprise that like I love that kind of stuff. I ended up getting into bands playing rock music, but nobody in my family likes rock. Like I don't nobody likes country. Like I
So
didn't
what brought
hear
you into that though? What made you become that? Like what?
you know, I wanted
First
to
of all,
be,
like, what brought you the bass into it? Like you know what I'm saying? Like you said, like you picked up a bass at 20. Like why?
well, it's lucky with the bass. I wanted to play an instrument. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Drew was kind of involved in bands and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I want to learn. I just want to play because I love the idea of it. I love the idea of performing. You know what I mean? Like getting on
Yeah, of
stage,
course.
there's nothing like it.
There's nothing.
And I knew even before I ever did it, I'm like, that's probably fucking awesome. You know?
Yeah.
I could just tell.
It's a different vibe for
Yeah,
sure.
you don't have to touch a fire to know it's hot. You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
That's a good. I like that. I like that.
But you know, getting involved in like rock and especially metal, like we played at first.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a lot of
You're like
yeah. But as a bass player, you don't get to shine. There's not much for you. Just you know, no, you play with a pick in a metal band.
Oh no, really? I didn't
Have to.
See, I know you do at some things, but I always say this about my bass player from Small Town, and like we still work together in music now, and it's like that boy's got fingers that are magic. Like any girl that he dates, I'm like, you be all right.
Well, that's the difference though. Now, like with Small Town, like you guys had more like with the rapping vocals, you know, it's a very different style of music. You know, it's much more like funk and like soul or R&B oriented. So the bass plays a much bigger role in the music. Like with metal and rock, a lot of times it's kind of there just for like utility, like to make it sound all right, like to hold everything together. Like you're not really getting to show off or like, go on any crazy runs. You know, you're not going to be Verdine White playing in like a
then,
fucking.
Yeah, I get it.
But that was always my thing. So I always had a chip on my shoulder about it. So then we started the cover band and I actually got to play and I'm like, oh, okay, this is much more fun. Yeah.
That's what we should have done. We should have just all been in the cover bands. We actually would have grown and made money.
Honestly,
we could have been like the Benjamins or like the Nerds. I would have been fine with that.
I'm not bullshitting you when I say this. We were making good money.
Yeah.
Like, I was paying my bills and not touching my paychecks from work.
Do you know how awesome that is? Like
it was amazing.
When was it? This is at least 4 or 5 years ago, where like, you know, we our friends have a house in Killington, and we go snowboarding. I'm like, yes, I love going to Killington, going snowboarding with my boys for a couple of days, and not having to worry about anything, and like not seeing anyone from Jersey. And it's like we get there on a Sunday, and we're staying till like Wednesday, and we go to this bar, and like, oh, you know, some like a bunch of people are gonna be there. Like we see them outside, and they're all drinking, and it's like, oh shit, the Nerds are playing. And I'm like, how is there a Jersey band playing in Vermont right now? Like, why? And then like they come on stage and like, hey, we're the Nerds from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Like, anyone from Jersey here? And I shit you not, like the whole place lit up. And I'm like, yo, we can't even hook up with anybody here because it will just trace back. You know, like we can't even do anything. Like it's just there's no point. Fuck it, I'm going home. Like it was just so depressing. But it was like it's also one of those things where like, yo, you made money. Like you could go anywhere. As if you're a great cover band, you could go anywhere. And it's like, I mean, there's nobody. I don't think there's anybody in New Jersey that doesn't know the Benjamins or the Nerds or
the Nerds
Garden
is the
State
big
Radio.
One. Don't tell me.
You know, like,
do you realize? Wait. You just said Garden State Radio, right?
Yeah.
You do realize that that's the cover band that I was in. Me and Drew started that band.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm not even kidding you, bro.
No way. That's last time I was in Vermont, I saw them perform. Yeah,
I mean the first time they played up there, I was still in the band, and I had something to do that weekend, so I had to have a fill-in. But we went all over the place.
What's her name?
Kelly.
We had there was a light tech that we had at House of Independence. That she said she worked merch for you guys. I think
that was long after I left the band.
Oh, okay.
I had to leave on some drama shit. So
there's always drama in bands.
Yeah, you know how it is.
That's what happens.
Yeah, I know. I always talk about that. Like I see people talk about like, oh yeah, we're going to see this show. Like Garden State Radio is playing at this bar or whatever. I'm like, you know, that was my fucking band, right?
Like, are you a little salty about that? You a little salty?
Yeah, I mean, it's been long enough.
I could get it, but you know, everyone has their own issues with bands that they were in.
Well, that's the thing. You know how when a band ends in an ugly way, you always kind of you carry that for a while. And I mean, it's been plenty of time, so I'm not really salty about it. Like if I saw them, like, oh, you know, hey, what's up? But at the same time, it's like it sucks because they literally got bigger after me and Drew left. So it's but then you know what it is? Here's the thing with cover bands, a lot of people forget. It's not like playing a show when you're like an independent artist and you're writing original stuff. Like you're going out there, you're working. So on a Friday, Saturday night, Thursday nights, even like you're working while other people are partying. So and now that's also your going out time. Like what else do you have? You have the days and like the week. It's not the same.
I mean, what better job than to be on stage and, playing with your friends to music? Because that's what it is. You're putting on a show.
Exactly.
You're putting on a show. I mean, just like a wedding band, like you're putting on a show. You have to bring it, and the people have to vibe to it, knowing it's a cover band. But if you do a cover right, people will into it. If you do a cover wrong, you feel that. Just like you do when you do like an original song. You could write a song that you like, but at the end of the song, if you don't get the woo, vibe, the song didn't hit. Like that's one of those things.
When it was like, all right, maybe we'll hold off on that one next show.
Exactly. Wrong song, for this set. Or maybe
we had
the
a few
wrong
of
song.
those.
You got to keep on working on that song.
All right, so let's go now to when Scoundrels started. Explain kind of the genesis of that band.
Hold on, Scoundrels started. I'm gonna need another drink. Hold on.
All right.
I didn't put my drinks where I needed to put them for this one. There we go.
That's actually perfect because I had to adjust my camera anyway.
Still look sexy no matter how you do it.
Thank you. Well, it's not the one you could see. You won't see it till the YouTube.
So where was I? I mean, how did it start? Why did it start? Like,
how? What made you say, "Hey, I'm gonna start like a band. We're gonna go out play gigs." Like, tell me about it. How did you like? And the band members know each other?
Yes. No. But yes.
Walk me through it.
I'm gonna try to keep this like a long story, boring, very short.
All right.
I was living in Florida at the time, and I have a friend, and I'm not gonna name drop because I don't like doing that. But like I have a friend who becomes very successful in the music scene, and we run into each other, and we were like, "Oh shit, man, how you been?" Like, and I'm like, "Wow, you made it! Like, you made it." I could have sworn you were gonna die, but you made it. Like, that's crazy. Like, oh my God. And he's like, "What are you doing? Like, why aren't you like? Are you still writing? Are you still performing?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm in the army." Like, and like he's like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I just needed to figure out my life," which is kind of like where it goes back to like where I was younger. I didn't know where I was going, and the easiest thing was for me to join the army, just to kind of get structure in my life and a path somewhere that wasn't going to lead to hoodlum bullshit, because let's be honest, like when I was younger, I was reckless. Like I was hung with the wrong crowd. I, did dumb things, I've been arrested more times than I ever want to count, but like, it's just, it was a way for me to get refocused. And then it brought me down to Florida. It got me to Full Sail. And so I don't know if anyone knows what Full Sail is, but it's just a music school. And I don't even think it was credited at the time when I went, but went out there and I did it, and I ran into him, and he was making music, and he was like, "You need to start writing music again, and you need to like do some shit." And so I did, started getting back into it, and he gave it to some people, and they're like, "You have something here. What are you gonna do with it? Like, we can help you, but we can like, where's like your angle? What are you gonna do with it?" And I tried doing it in Florida. I tried to put people together, but if you're from Florida, it's just a party town. Nobody, especially at you're 21.
What part of Florida?
At the time, I was in Orlando.
Okay.
And trying to get people focused to like write music and get together, and like it was impossible. Like it was like every night drinking too much, forgetting what we wrote, the night before, and it was ridiculous. And again, we're 2021, everyone's in that realm, and it's like it was hard to write music. So I was like, I gotta go, So I made a list coming up to Jersey of who I wanted in my band, and like just who I need for a guitar, for like who I need for lead or rhythm, or who I needed for a bass player, and making phone calls,
making up like your dream team, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I had these people on my list, and as I'm making phone calls coming up, like the first person that was on my list, I don't know why he was on top of my list, but it was like a guy I did a song with back in high school, and looking back at it, I'm glad it didn't work out because he wasn't the right guy for it anyways. But the second guy on my list was a kid who I grew up with, and I knew him being in bands growing up, and we knew each other since 1994, 93, somewhere around there. Just kids from the hood, like, kids riding your bikes, like, neighborhood kids. And it was Eddie who becomes the lead singer of the Small Town Scoundrels. And he's a phenomenal rhythm guitarist, and his history in general, like being in pop punk bands all his life, and his grandfather being a mariachi player, like he just has this vibe to him. Because when I met Eddie, I just thought he was white. I didn't realize he was half Mexican, which is another, like, I'm like, wow, okay, like you have some float and flavor to you, so that was great. So I was like, hey, I got this, idea and I got this potential. Would you like to do something? And he was like, yeah, sorry, pause, got to backtrack, because I couldn't get a hold of Eddie at first. And like I said, coming back to Jersey, finding a way to work, we all go back to the restaurant business. But everyone kept telling me, like, I didn't know bass. I didn't care. I don't know why. Like you said, bass players don't get the love that they deserve.
They never do.
They genuinely, bass players are underrated. They deserve more love than we give them.
You heard it here, folks.
It's true. No lie. Like, we are nothing without the bass player. Sorry, hands down. But like, I remember everyone keep telling me about this guy named Fro. Like, yo, you want a bass player? Get Fro. Like, everyone, Fro. And I'm like, yo, who the hell's Fro? Like, whatever. Like, I'll look for him. So I always asked for a Fro, but I didn't know who Fro was. So I was working at this restaurant in Hillsborough, and I met this kid, Kevin, and we started shooting shit. And I was like, yeah, I came up here from Florida, putting a band together, blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a bass player. And he's like, oh, I play bass. I was like, oh, word. Like, do you want to maybe like jam with me? I got a friend of mine named Eddie. Like, like he's thinking about it, but he's not really sure. And he was like, oh, Eddie Patton. He's like, I know Eddie. I was like, yeah, well, I mean, the three of us, if we just want to start getting here, I got some ideas, just in the platform. And he's like, word, okay, cool. And I swear to Christ, the next day I come into work, and it was like my third day of work. He like walked out. He's like, yo, man, I quit. Peace out. Nice meeting you. And like walked out. And I was like, shit, man, like I didn't get his number. Like I fucked up. And one of the waitresses was like, did Fro just quit? And I was like,
that's Fro.
That's Fro? Oh shit. Like, wait, because I only knew him as Kevin at the time. So I was like, oh, that's Fro. So I talked to the manager. I need his phone number. Like, I know he just quit, but I need his number, like on some other shit. So I got, in touch with him, and then he got in touch with Eddie. And so then the three of us were like this core thing. And then unfortunately, I think every band goes through something like this, where you go through an array of drummers or array of guitar players or array of some instrument in the band, where something keeps changing. For us, it was the drummer.
For us, it was singers.
Yeah. So it was this frustrating thing. Our boy, Dooch, was a phenomenal keyboard player. And so we would let him like join in and start writing music. Yeah, I'm boring. My bad. I know.
I'm old, bro. I'm old.
But Dooch, we was play with. So now we have four people. So we have keys, bass, guitars, and singer, and me on doing like emceeing. And by the way, I'm going to say that for you now. I am not a rapper. I am an MC. I hate being called a rapper. I never ever claimed to be a rapper. I know rappers. I am not a rapper.
Okay, so hang on.
I hate that.
You got to explain to me what's the difference in the terminology here. Explain it to people, because
if you know the realm of hip hop, okay, an MC can rock a show, all right. Like KRS-One can rock a show. Like he can move the crowd. He gets the crowd into it. That's what an MC is. Like even a great frontman in a band is still an MC in general. Like if you think of like even wedding singers, like and like they're out there getting the crowd going. Like that's an MC. Can I write rhymes? I write rhymes. Do I know rappers who can write things that make me go, holy crap, how did you even come up with that, syncopation, and how did you put those words together? Like, I know real rappers, like, and especially in Jersey, you have, Ren Thomas is one of the most amazing rappers I've ever heard. KM, I think he's going under Unique Gains now, but like, you have these amazing rappers who could just put words together that I can never do. And now I can write great rhymes, but I'm not a guy who's going to go on the mic and freestyle some shit. If I'm drunk doing it, sure, it's not going to be great. It's going to be okay, but I'm not a rapper. I am an MC, because if you put me, and you've seen me perform, I was in a band, and being in that band, it wasn't just hip hop. It was punk rock. It was reggae. It was a show. So yeah, I'm spitting flows over it, but they're not, like, you might call them raps, but I'm just spitting the flow. I mean, look at 21 Pilots. Tyler is not a rapper, but he's an MC writing rhymes. Like, that's what he's doing. That's what they kind of got them on that path of like kind of he's spitting, but he's just an MC. He's not a rapper. I mean, he even says, I'm not a rapper, like that's the thing. And if you can rock a show, then you're an MC. It's a master of ceremonies. That's how it started. It's if you look back at the birth of hip hop, that's just what it is. Rapping became, a thing, but it started with the MC and the DJ. You had a DJ, the MC, and then the B-boys, and like, but everyone used to be, it was all for the DJ. Like,
yeah,
you know,
if you trace it all the way back, like
it was
most
always about the DJ.
like rap historians will tell you
Yeah.
that like DJ Kool Herc parties back in the Bronx, like
the god of hip hop, you know.
Yeah, just kind of like doing the little rhymes, like talking shit between songs and stuff like that, like kind of like.
So like those were MCs, you know, who would do that, and then throughout hip hop, it changed, you know, in the '80s and '90s, it became a thing. But then you have rappers, you know, and that's great if you're a rapper. I would never call myself a rapper. I've been on shows, hip hop shows that are like, oh, that's the rapper. I'm like, I'm not a rapper. I'm a hip hop kid. Like I'm an MC, but I'm not a rapper. Which used to piss a lot of like people off when we would get put on like these rap shows and we would steal the show from the headliners and they'd be like, what the fuck? Like, some band. Like I'm like, yeah, it's a different vibe when it's a live band. You know,
tell us we couldn't bring instruments.
Yeah, you know, like it's the same thing with like, you know, could you imagine like back in the day when the Roots would show up? You know, like, but think about it, like the Roots showing up at a hip hop show, and then you have one of the greatest MC rappers of all time, you know, like ripping the mic, and then also that vibe that comes, you know, from the band, Questlove on the drums, Black Thought on, you know, on the front, you know, Jill Scott maybe singing over here, like, you know, like it's a different vibe in the band.
Oh, it's a whole different thing. I can just imagine the other people on that show, like the other rappers doing like that guy from the meme, just like on the phone.
Yeah,
we got a whole band here.
Yeah, you know, and that's kind of how it started for us. And so we mistakenly put El Duce. We took like I remember Kevin or Fro or Eddie went on vacations. No, Fro went on vacation. Eddie had a genius idea because Ducci was like, "Yeah, I can drum too." But oh, you can drum? Cool. We're gonna put you on the drums. And Fro always told us not to do that, but we didn't listen to him because we were impatient and we wanted to make, you know, good songs and we wanted to play shows, you know. And so I remember when Fro came back, he was like, "This is gonna work out," and he was right. It didn't work out. But the beautiful part of having El Duce on the drums was it allowed us to create more music and then bring in another keyboard player, which, you know, was Ithamar Francois, and one of the most talented, you know, pianists I've ever met in my entire life. And this kid, like, you know how like in the studio you could take your time with your tracks, and like, you know, you don't have to rush. You could do it in parts. He could do it in one take, and it was just the most magical thing to just watch him like.
Isn't that nice when you see that? You don't have to just sit like, there, you know, start over.
Nothing, just one take, and I'm like, I hate you. But it was like, thanks for saving us time in the studio. But like, you know, like it's just he was that dude and he was that great. And then, like I said, just unfortunately, then it became the array of going through drummers and trying to find the right niche. And I think 4 or 5 drummers. I think either the 4th or the 5th drummer where we finally found Josh. Bless that kid's heart. He was 21 when we found him, or he was 20 and he had just turned 21. And like the band was already like in their mid to late 30s, like, you know, or in their 30s. You know, like some of us are old, you know. And
it happens, you know.
Yeah, and we destroyed that kid. Just, you know, but think about it. He's like 21, you know, like. This is so much fun. Like the
end of innocence.
Like, I can't move. Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of where it started because Josh is and was and all of that an amazing drummer. Like we used to have. I remember when we were having tryouts, like you had to be able to do the Purdy shuffle, like without skipping a beat. And I know if you don't know what the Purdy shuffle is, or you know if you don't know music, it's a drum cadence made by this guy Purdy.
Neil Peart? No,
Purdy. Fuck him. Oh, I'm going on blank on his name. Whatever. But it's like this vibe, and it's just like it's got this flow to it that like if you can't do it as a drummer, you can't be in our band because we use it a lot in our band. Like not even on purpose. It just has like this really awesome flow. Like when you want to do breakdowns to make it feel more hip hop. You know, it's really weird.
I'm so glad that none of the bands I was in ever had like tests I had to take because I was everywhere. Listen, every band I was ever in, I was always the least experienced member of the band. Like the first band I joined, I had only been playing for like 5 months, and they were cool enough to let me in. And I was like, all right, just don't mess up too bad.
Well, the thing is, when Josh came in, at that point, we already played our first shows. You know, we were already playing the bar shows. We were already playing all that stuff. You know, and we were making noise because obviously, being in an indie hip hop band, we were different. You know, we weren't,
nobody else was doing that around here.
Yeah, nobody was, and like So like it was great because we were getting, known for putting on hell of a shows and like, tearing it down, and and we were growing at the time. So we didn't have any leg room for anyone that wasn't ready for the part at that time. And so when Josh, joined, like I told him, like, I'll make you one promise. I'll put you on the biggest stages and biggest crowds you'll ever see. Just don't fuck up. Like just like just do what we say and we'll get you there. And we did, and we got to do some of the craziest things that I always dreamed of, but I think at a point whenever you're in a band, you go, are we still doing this? Or are we gonna, or is this just for fun? Are we trying?
Yeah.
Or is this just, for fun?
How serious are we here?
Exactly. And I think when we started, getting booked on larger shows, with larger, obviously known bands and known artists, it was like, we don't have time to play. Like we have the opportunity to go further with this. And you look back at it, I mean, no matter what anyone says, like, I never wanted fame. I just wanted to be a paid musician. And I think that's what a lot of people forget. Like being a paid musician is different than being famous. I don't want to be out there known and not be able to take a shit. I want to get paid for what I do and go home.
Well, it's a badge of honor. It shows accomplishment. Like this is something I was passionate about, that I actually put my heart and soul into, and I can make money off of that. Like I'm turning that into real world value. We
were young and dumb and stupid. You were there, like, yeah,
we never made money in my first band.
Yeah, the girls were great, the fans were great, tours were great, but there comes a point where you start getting older and it has to either be real life or band life. And
all in or all out. Yeah,
it became this blurred line, and I don't know when it happened. Actually, I kind of do know when it happened, but it wasn't the end of it. But I just remember knowing where this might be it, or like this is coming to a head.
So how did it all like happen when it eventually ended? Like, I mean,
so looking
it was
back at
ugly,
it,
right?
No, we fought. I think when you're in a band for 10 years,
everybody does.
You fight like a family. You fight like brothers. You're gonna have you have different person. One, like, and that's what I loved about the band. Eddie was punk rock. Fro was a hardcore metal kid. Josh came from like everything. Ith was classically trained on the piano, but also grew up in hip hop. And I was the MC. So it was just like you had these different ingredients is making this music, so it always sounded different and unique. But a lot of the time, if I heard something, if I heard the song going one way, I got outvoted to make the song go another way, or if somebody, one way or the other, it didn't work in how you wanted to see it because there was too many chefs in the kitchen, but that's how we worked it. We worked it as a collective. So, we start playing these shows because the music's getting better. We're getting paid, but like I said, it was worth it because at the time it's like, cool, Sublime, playing with Badfish, playing with Sublime, finally get to the Pony, like getting to like, play with like, as corny as it sounds, my birthday, we always played the coolest show. Like and I know it's like, now it doesn't sound cool, but to me back then it was really cool. Cause like playing for Eve 6 or Alien Ant Farm.
Yeah,
like,
listen,
like
at the time.
At the time.
Those were legit bands. I hear the laughter in the background. That's not nice. That's not cool.
But like it was one of those things. And then like, then we played with George Clinton, and then we're playing for the Dirty Heads. We're playing with, what was it? Sublime and with Rome and Pennywise, and it's just like, the shows were just growing and growing.
It's quite an array of different genres.
But that's what I'm saying. For us, like I got to be Rakim the God's DJ. That is a story for like another day because it was a dream. It's a crazy way how it happened, but it happened, and it happened here in Asbury. But to see that we were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and our names were being out there, and playing the Warped Tours and the Bamboozles or the Skate Surfs, and we were growing. It does get to a point where like, we could go all of the way and, make it, or we could call it quits, and I think what happened was people's real lives started coming into play. People wanted to get married. People wanted to start having kids. People wanted to start buying homes. And no one was like mad about it. Like I wanted you to do it. Like everyone was like, but even the girls that were in our like our lives, like the wives, you know, the girlfriends, like we don't want you to stop the band, but I also want to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and
I don't want
get
to tell you to
that.
quit, but I'm just gonna subtly give you an
It
ultimatum.
wasn't like the one there. I will say one strong advocate for someone growing, like, you know, one of the wives being like, I want us to do real life, you know, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend things, but don't quit your band. This is awesome. Like, I want you to do this. And so like, but at the point when something happened, you know, people were getting married and having kids and buying homes and stuff like that, I knew like either we're going to keep going or we're not.
Yeah,
and it was the show we were playing Starland Ballroom. And I remember
that's the one place I always wanted to play that I never got to. The only place I didn't get to check off my list.
Starland Ballroom was, you know, it was crazy too, because I think we played the House of Blues in Atlantic City.
Yeah, we did that one.
And then we were playing Starland, and I just knew like the vibe. I saw the video of like, you know, of this moment, and I was like, this is it. The people know who the fuck we are, and we're there. We're at that pinnacle where it's like we have to make a choice. And unfortunately, with everything that was going on, it had to kind of take a back seat, which it didn't mean the band never ever said we broke up, because we didn't. We never broke up. We just chilled, and we kept playing like shows sporadically, you know, like as long as they were like worth it for us. Like we've been known to play with Badfish all the time because there are a lot of fun shows to play with, because Badfish is a great band to play with. So whenever they would play, we would ask to play with them, open up for them, we would, you know. And then we got, again, the last show we played together was here in Asbury Park with Badfish. And, you know, we hadn't played together as a band in a few years. Because I think the time before that we played with the Original Wailers, which is like, if you were to ask me one artist I always want to play with, dead or alive, was Bob Marley. Is and will always be Bob Marley. So this is the closest I'm ever going to get to perform with them. I will play with the band to get to have that opportunity, you know. So playing with the Original Wailers is the closest I'm ever going to get to that vibe. And so the next show was with Badfish at House of Independence, and it was a great show. Like it brought back all the vibe, the feel, the crowd, like everything was right. And when I walked off that stage, I was kind of like, okay, I'm okay if this was the last show. I'm not saying it's the last show, but I'm okay if it is.
Yeah, like I gotcha. So I don't want to keep you all night here. It's already, you know, we're running up towards the end. The last thing I want to ask you about is, this is something I've asked other musicians that have been on the show. After the band is over, okay, you've kind of like come to terms with the fact, all right, this thing has run its course. What's it like kind of going back out there and just, it's almost like, you know, when you have to rediscover yourself, like, what am I if I'm not in this band? You know, what was that like for you?
Man, which is, I guess, is a good way to end it. It's the reason why I came to Asbury Park. I've always been in the bar scene. You know, when I wasn't working, I was always, you know, bartending or whatever. So I had the opportunity to become the bar manager here at the House of Independence in Asbury, which to me only made sense. It was a music venue and me running the bar. So bringing both the things that I love and that I know in one spot, you know, which was always cool to see, like, my friends' bands on tour and like them coming in, they're like, do you want a bill? I'm like, no, I'm the bar manager, we need to drink, you know, and it was cool. But I wasn't ready to just walk away from music. I just personally needed a break. And the only thing that made sense for me to do was the other thing that I love, which is cocktails and a bar. Like, you know, it's only grown, you know, extensively since. Like, I love being a drink slinger, but it's only been in the past 3.5 years that I've grown to love making a proper cocktail and like the art of mixology. I hate the term mixologist, fuck that bullshit. But there is an art to, you know, doing what we do. And that kind of always kept me afloat in jobs in my career outside of music. But my music career hasn't stopped, you know, and because of that, I kept writing and formed with a friend of mine out here, like she's like my baby sister, in a project called He Said, She Said. I sent you the links. I don't know if you got a
I got
chance.
it.
You know,
I just had it on before we started, actually.
okay. And it's something I've always wanted to do. Natalie's one of the most amazing, fiercest, like little Latina singers. I mean, just singers in general. The girl is just full of energy and just has a voice that's just unparalleled. She's just got like this soul to her. And I just knew that she was the sound that I was always, I would hear, like, you know how you can write a hook, but sometimes you hear a female singing it? Like,
100%.
it was her voice that I would always continuously hear, like, singing the shit that I would write. And, you know, we got together and we, you know, had the song with Fro, Fro played bass on it and the guitar. Chris Penny from Dillinger Escape Plan, Cody Cambria, like the drummer, he produced it. And the whole goal was to keep writing singles and just keep dropping singles, but then COVID happened. And it's like everything stopped, because I think as an artist, one of the greatest things to be able to do is to perform, you know, and like to be able to perform the music that you're creating. But then a part of me kind of stopped a little bit, because I'm like, why am I going to keep writing music if I'm not going to be able to perform it? And so just like anybody else, like, you know, I hit a wall, like, damn. And that thing, you know, going back to your question, that's where I'm like, who am I without music? What am I without the band? What am I without this force? And I started doing something without realizing it. Within this time frame, I started doing stand-up comedy.
Shit!
Yeah, and because I worked at the Stress Factory in New Brunswick, and started doing stand-up comedy, and I started being okay at it. And because it's a different form of writing, you're still writing, but it's just a different way of writing and performing at the same time. So luckily enough, I got to, you know, do these open mics, and then I got to open up for, you know, different people. Brett Ernst gave me one of the biggest opportunities. I don't know if you know who Brett Ernst is.
Cousin Louie.
Yeah, Cousin Louie. Cobra Kai. You know, Brett, that's my man's, like, you know, and he let me do a show with him and Pete Giovanni, and I'm missing him, my boy Carlos. Like, so there's a 4 of us on it, and he gave me 6 to 8 minutes, I think it was. I got paid.
That's a good amount of time.
I got paid $300 for that. I was like,
yeah, you ain't getting that. Yeah, you ain't getting that being a stand-up in the city.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, I can make money doing this too, and like still be creative. And I fell in love with writing, you know, stand-up comedy, but it's such a different world, and it's such a different form of writing, because if you make a joke, you know whether it hits or doesn't. Because if it's not, if it doesn't hit,
response,
it's like, you're like, oh, all right, keep working on that. Like, it's like, you know, you have to be able to vibe with the crowd, and if you don't have that, you know, that going for you, then you have a lot to work on as a stand-up comic. And I still, there's so many, like, I don't call myself a stand-up comic, I just do comedy, and I enjoy doing stand-up comedy. I continuously want to work on it. Obviously, it's kind of hard now with COVID, but it's still, I still write comedy, you know, but I still also now write music. And I think now that things are getting better, and I think music is going to start coming back, I started writing music again, and I finally started nailing down songs. So now single number 2, single number 3, single number 4, which at this point I might as well just do another album. But like,
what the fuck,
you know, yeah, you know, because that was the thing. I was just going to do singles, because who the fuck buys albums anymore?
I mean, Spotify is a thing, you know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But that's to answer your question. That's what it is. I've never stopped creating, because I don't think that's possible for people like us. You know, just like this is your platform of creativity. You know, like you know, you have to find something to make you keep going, because otherwise, I don't think we work okay. Like, I don't, you know, people like us
you need
can't
that outlet.
still in that manner.
Yeah,
exactly. You know,
you got something in your head and your heart. You got to get it out.
You know, whether you're, you know, doing a podcast, or you're a landscaper, or, you know, you're bartending, or, you know, whatever it is, like, people like us don't stop. I don't think we ever stop creating. One way or another, we're always creating. And there are people who just did it for the love of those moments. You know, there are people who just were in a band to be in a band, you know, that's fine. But for people who are naturally creative, I don't think we ever stop. I don't think we ever can stop, because a part of us dies if that does. And I think we become sadder people of it. And I've seen that happen.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Even our friends, you know, I've seen when people stop creating, the sadness come over them, and, like, you know, gain weight, and just, you know, like, oh my God, what happened? Like, you know, like, you know, it's just, for us, it's not a thing. I don't think.
Yeah, it's like a part of your soul kind of starts to die.
100%. I don't know what I would be without music. I don't know what I'd be without writing. I think writing in general, like, I'm not like a lit major or anything like that. My handwriting is horrible. I don't even know how people like can read it. But being able to create and being able to let people smile and forget about their day to day, one way or another in my life, whether it's in comedy, music, bartending, I always have a way to make people forget about their shitty moments and their shitty day for, anywhere between 3 minutes to an hour. That was the purpose of what I do. And I love it, man. I couldn't have asked for a better life or a better career.
Honestly, bro, I really appreciate you coming on. I agree with everything you just said right there. All right. And we didn't even get to half the stuff that I had listed on.
I'm sorry, that's
questions.
my fault.
No, it's all good. We filled up. We're over an hour already. I mean, that's good.
Chop it up however you want to chop it up.
Yeah, well, I'm not even gonna chop it up. It's just gonna stand the way it is. I mean, obviously, when I got up to fix the camera, I'll cut that little part out. But
nah, man, just
dude, honestly, yeah, no, but seriously, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here. I know it's been a while since we talked, so it means a lot.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure,
honestly,
bro.
I don't know how you still look that good though. I finally grew a beard. I can finally grow a beard. I didn't know. This took me 20 years easily. I'm so happy about it. But you always had that.
It's rough, yeah. I get too much hair when except where I really want it. Thank you, appreciate it. So
you have a good shaped head for it.
Hey, thank you.
If you were shaving your head and I never said anything, it's because you have a good shaped head. If you have a bad shaped head, I'd be like, yo, don't do that.
Yo, you'll belt our cone head. What's the deal, bro?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So before we get out of here, I want you to plug anything you got. Like, tell them where they can find you. What you want to promote.
Yeah, man. Just like I said, like he said, she said is the new group is me and Natalie Farrell. I call her for real because she's the truth. I think we're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Music. We have the single out and we have the music video for it out, which is on YouTube. More stuff will come this summer. But like I said, it took time just because it wasn't the right time for it to come out. And I feel like I have a summer song ready to come out for this summer. Because I think when this summer hits, the world's going to be like, we want freedom.
Strategic release. I got it.
Exactly. You need those summer bangers. And I think we do have something special with this next track. And like I said, I'm ready for it. I think the world's ready for it. I think the Latin world is taking over a lot more. Latinos, reggaeton was kind of a novelty back in the day, but now it has become a strong hold in the world. Like Latin music, it's not just reggaeton. It's Latin music is becoming pop music. Mm-hmm. And being Latino and I'm Ecuadorian, Natalie's Puerto Rican, and being able to create music between the two of us, coming from two different backgrounds of music is really fun and it's very eclectic, but it works for what music is today. So I'm excited for that to come out. So
anything like Twitter, Instagram, where they can find you? You want to put out there?
She said. I think it's HS3 or some shit. I don't know, something like that. I'm horrible with that type of stuff.
I'll find the link, and I'm gonna make sure I put it under the video.
Yeah, put the links. You just gotta put the links on there.
I got you. Don't worry.
But thank you so much for having me on your show, man. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, man.
It didn't even feel like an hour. Honestly, it didn't.
See, it flies by real quick.
Like that.
It's a good conversation, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time. That's the whole thing. That's the conversation. That's the interview. That's the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Big shout out to Chris. Make sure you guys go check out his stuff on YouTube and Instagram. You find him, I posted all the links already. You saw it. Just look under the picture, under the video. You saw it. It was there. I promise. It was there. Make sure you guys go follow his stuff and check out his music. He got new stuff coming out soon. So, support him. Show him some love. He took the time to come talk to us, talk to me, but you guys listen. So it's like, it's like when you listen to a podcast, it feels like you're involved in the conversation, just not speaking. You're just the quiet guy, at the table. That's what it feels like. It really does. Because I listen to podcasts and, you talk to these guys who you've listened to for years even, and then you finally like, oh yeah, by the way, you don't know anything about me, but I feel like I know everything about you. It's weird. But enough. You guys know where to find us. A Pot Amongst Men on Instagram and Twitter. A potamongstmen@gmail.com. With any long-form questions, comments, or concerns. And if you make sure you subscribe to the show on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe, please. It helps. And same thing on iTunes, everywhere else, like Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, everywhere else, you can find us there. make sure you follow us and interact with us on social media. I like talking to you guys. Anyway, that's about it. I'll see you next week. Peace.